Hey guys, this is Mauisnake bringing you another pro player analysis video, and today I'm going to be going over Bntet, the 23-year-old Indonesian IGL for TyLoo. In 2018 thus far, Bntet has posted up a 1.18 rating, and he only has a 37.8 headshot percentage, which is actually relatively low given that he is a primary rifler. Especially for the pro scene. But what we're going to see in this game is that Bntet is actually very skilled with positioning, and he's very good at catching opponents off guard. So, without further ado, let's hop into this demo. This is between NIP and TyLoo at the CSGO Asia Championships, and even though this BO3 does go the way of NIP, it actually, TyLoo take this game off of them, and Bntet has a really stellar performance. So, without further ado, here we go. So they're going to be starting off in a pretty simple default here. This is really a 1-1-3. Benta is at Banana by himself. He just has the best spawn. He takes that positioning, and his teammates are going to be clearing out apartments. You might notice that in this game, they are actually going to be playing with a stand-in. I think his name's Azio, which is kind of an interesting name, given that I played on Azio Esports. But regardless, Captain Mo is not here for this tournament. He usually is. This is kind of a reason I actually figured this would be a good game to watch. Usually when a team has a stand-in, you see a little bit more individual flair come out from star players. So that is why I went about choosing this game. So this round is really just going to end up with an A exec. They get apartments control with their default, and in doing so, Benta finds a nice gush onto Forest and Pit. And he's just trying to scale now with his teammates up to the bomb site. Nothing too unusual here, but what you can see is that he actually doesn't go for anything crazy with his positioning. They're in a 3v2. Sometimes you'll feel the need to make a play in these situations, but on a pistol round, you can definitely just play your angles and hope to hit the headshots, because that's really sometimes all pistol rounds boil down to, is who can hit the headshots first. So he's playing on the bicycle position, really strong angle. Gets that first headshot onto Rez, and kind of allows his teammate to get pushed there, but that's really just a good smoke from the NIP players, so Bentet's able to trade that one out. And let's talk about his kit a little bit. He's got the Gamma Doppler M9 Bayo. Uses a uses a fire serpent as well. The Cool Mint Moto gloves. I don't think these really match with the knife that well, but I mean, we don't really have too much else to talk about right now, so yeah. But pretty good first round from him there. He finds the gush, drops quite a bit of ADR, and this round, this is just an anti-eco for them. It's really an anti-force buy kind of setup, and you can notice that they coordinate their nades there to get this banana control. It does a bunch of damage to Rez, but a good flash from Rez's teammate actually gets Bntet completely blind there. That's not something you actually see happen. Usually Bntet, during default, he's going to be playing kind of an anti-flash position, as he's taking right now. So he's just going to be posted up here for a while. Nothing really too crazy. Rounds just going to develop around him. And now his team, without really getting too much information towards any portion of the map, is deciding to just group up and do a B hit. And this is a little bit risky given that they haven't really scouted out any other parts of the map, but with that kill on the Get Right, it's already a 5v3, so this is going quite a bit into their favor. And pretty much no matter where they go at this point, as long as they head together, they should be fine. So he's going to trade out his weapon with Exerted, and now he's going to be on the scout. You don't really see Bntet pick up sniper rifles all too often, so he just decides to pull out the USB instead, which isn't really a bad idea, and he just gets traded going into the bomb site. Kind of just running in not all too carefully there, but he's on low HP. He really should be one of the first players that goes into that bomb site and allows for his teammates to trade off of him, so just doing his job there. So another anti-eco coming out. and he's going to throw a supporting flash for his team. You'll often find Bntet as the third player going into a bomb site. He's usually the one throwing the nades, and it allows him to play out late round situations with his team. So you don't usually see him entry fragging. And so his team figures out that the CTs are kind of doing a mid push here. He uses a lot of bullets towards Banana and does find that kill on Electro. I feel like he actually used quite a few in his first spray there, but I mean, it all works out for him. The smoke's there, so he has a way to fall off pretty easily. He has a nice forewarning if the CTs do decide to approach him, but plays that angle on top of the half wall there, and now he's in a 1v3, and pretty poor spray control there from him actually is going to allow Forrest to win that round. And despite being on full eco, Nip were able to take that one down. I think the players that were in the bomb site didn't actually have the best of setups and weren't able to play off of each other all that well. But Benta, I mean, he tried to bring it back, but that situation was rather difficult. So this is pretty much their standard low utility default. It involves going up bracket a little bit quicker than normal, and you'll see right here that there's a flash to come out mid, so they're deciding to walk out mid on this round, and they just walk through the smoke, which is actually a really gambly play, of course. That one flash is going to give them a little bit more confidence going into it, but they're just walking all the way into CT at this point. It does catch Lekro off guard, and now Benta, I mean, this guy's so good at advanced positioning. I mean, he knows that it's very unlikely that the CTs are going to be aware of that, but they try to move their way into the A site despite killing a B rotator. At that point, you should really know that there's only 1 and 1, but they kind of wrap back through library a little bit and take quite a bit of damage there. So I don't think that worked out actually quite as well as they would have hoped. As soon as Bntet got that kill towards CT, I mean, all you have to do at that point is decide whether you want to go to A or B. And usually the answer is B, given that there's going to be usually just one player. Unless the CTs took really aggressive banana control and left quite a few players there, you don't usually see teams just leave 2 players A. So they're finally grouping up, but they took a little long on this. So as you can see, Force is already on the flank, and that's going to make things pretty difficult for them. So yeah, he's already flanking from CT right now, and they pinched the bomb site really late, and Forrest, I mean, he made a really good play there, but Bntet and his team, I think they just took a little too long with that hole, and I think they actually made the wrong read entirely, so the mid-round call probably wasn't too strong there. I think that's the biggest mistake. They got one pick towards library, a pick towards arch as well. You know that there's probably still 2 towards A at that point. That's just kind of a standard setup for teams. And they make the wrong read. This round isn't all too interesting. Really, I'm pretty sure he's just calling for his team right now. As you can see, he's just kind of fiddling with his guns. This is something you'll catch a lot of IGLs doing, even at the highest level, as you can see here. Sometimes just kind of having awkward movement for periods of time and just kind of really not doing anything that seems too productive, but usually they're making a call that wasn't able to come out in the freeze time. So, yeah, he's just going to be moving forward here. Really just trying to let his teammates try to find something. So, I mean, he only has a Glock right now. It's a little surprising that he's alive this late into the round. Usually, you kind of want your Glocks to go out first, and maybe the Deagle will go out first to try to find a pick. But for a Glock to be baiting a P250 seems a little strange. But I don't think there was a really significant game plan for this round, and yeah, there's really just not too much for him to accomplish at that point. So finally, they're going to be on another gun round, and you're going to see once again that their normal default is kind of like a 2-1-2. Bntet and Azio are a little more dedicated towards the banana position, and this round really, Bntet just tries to find a trade. They think that the Molly is going to be isolating Rez from his teammates, so that if Azio dies there, Bntet should be able to find the trade through the smoke, but he's unable to do that, and really, that early 5v3 disadvantage just gives Nip a pretty easy win. So now we're going to see Bntet try to use the Deagle here. The last one of these rounds, he was on the Glock. Not all too effective, really. But, yeah, you'll see just how he likes to play it. Kind of awkward crosshair placement, but Great headshot from Beatty to start things off. So yeah, Benta kind of just plays back a lot. This is something you'll notice about his play. He really lets his teammates, on these kind of rounds especially, he kind of lets his teammates try to do the bulk of the work. And this might come off as him being somewhat of a baiter, but with how effective Bntet has been throughout international tournaments, especially in mid-late round situations, I don't really see this being problematic. It's not like he's doing this and it's not working for his team. In fact, he's closing out a lot of rounds in a lot of these games. So you can see he's kind of using his deagle as a support deagle there. If anyone were to wide swing on the car position, he would have been able to find the headshot, hopefully. His teammates are just trying to run up Banana at that point, and just holding that angle is like how you would see an opper do such a thing. They'll just post up on a very common repeat angle, such as that left side car, and that's what Benta was going for. So again, he's kind of letting his teammates do the bulk of the work as they're trying to move out first. He's just holding that supporting angle once again. If anyone swings out from CT, he's going to be able to take them out, but he realizes that there's two towards site. Very unlikely that anyone is CT at that point, so he's just going to get taken down there. So, another regular full utility default here. Notice that they throw a molly and a grenade up. That's very effective to take out oppers. If an opper peeks car, which is very common, especially at the pro level, the molly is not only going to damage him, but the nade is probably going to kill him. The nade slowing players down is going to cause the opper to take significantly more damage from the Molotov and likely result in the opper's death. It's a pretty common nade combination when things are planned out properly. So again, you can see he's kind of just pausing there. Definitely just going to be making a call. It'd be really interesting to hear the calls from TyLoo, but you can kind of just see they're going for bracket control. That's really, I think, all that was said. So here they're playing kind of a weird setup. This is, if you watch my podcast with Stucci, we talked about TyLoo a little bit and how it seems like their setups are a little strange at times. Azio here is just holding the corner, and Bntet was holding anti-flash from a little bit farther behind where he was. I don't think that's a very effective setup at all. Usually the pro setup that you'll see is a rifler will hold here playing anti-flash, and then maybe one player is playing a little bit wider here playing just holding the angle. But instead, Benta was farther back playing anti-flash, which doesn't really seem to make sense. And little things like that can cost TyLoo rounds pretty frequently. Azio is just kind of holding it. But as they're running in here, you can see Benta, he's clearing the angles out. He's kind of acting as a second in. He gets the first kill on a get right after Exerted got one, but that really just came down to get right actually playing a pretty poor angle there. Usually the only reason you'd end up in first oranges is you're playing on top of the oranges, this position right here, and because nades come in you have to fall off of it, so you're playing a bad angle. But yeah, get right wasn't really playing the best spot there. This is Bntet actually making a pretty big mistake. Lekro gets the kill onto Beatty, and Bntet swings out for the trade there, but what that offers Lekro is a free 1v1, and since Lekro's crosshair placement was already set up in that position towards that right area, it made it very easy for Lekro to actually find the headshot onto Bntet there, and it actually gave him a really significant chance to win that 1v3. So that's one of the rare mistakes you'll see from Bntet, is that, and I feel like that is pretty common amongst a lot of star players, is that they will kind of make that confidence peak trying to go for a trade when they really should. The one kill that Lekro got onto the bomb site should more often than not trigger you to play your secondary crossfire. That was between Exerted and Bntet at that point. So this Lekro still had a lot of time there. If there was no time on the clock, it would have made sense for that. But now they're taking banana control once again. You can see the nade utility usage is fairly similar to before. One thing that was different is that they actually mollied the corner there and then flashed with it. So now you see this is a slightly more standard position, but what's interesting is that Bntet, because he was fiddling with his nades, probably making a call there, he was unable to get the trade off of Azio's death, and he actually definitely would have been able to get it if he had just swung there, but instead he was just kind of fiddling with nades and didn't allow him to get that pick. So instead of trying to force the issue and peeking when his nade's out and trying to quick switch there and maybe getting just instantly killed, you can see Bentet's just knee-jerk reaction isn't to actually peek at all. He knows that his timing was bad off of that possibility of a trade, so he just holds his ground. And little instant decisions like that is, I mean, one of those things that makes Benta a strong player. He made a mistake, obviously, from fiddling with his nades in the first place, but yeah. So Bentet's kind of selling a fake here for his team. The rest of his team is now heading towards A, but they're running into one of the most difficult crossfires on the entire map, which is just running up port side. So Bentet's just going to be left in a 1v5, and it's not even really possible, so... He was just selling the fake there. That was really the main strategy, and his teammates going up porch. Because he didn't get any frags there, he wasn't able to draw anyone there, and that's something also somewhat characteristic about Benta. He doesn't really force the issue all too often with just trying to find frags and be really frag hungry, but that's something that is necessary pretty often when a player is trying to sell a fake. You either need significant nades and a couple players scaling, or you need to just get kills, and he really did neither there. So the fake didn't really pay off for TyLoo as well as he'd have wanted it to. So this is a pretty interesting round. It's really just a force buy coming out from TyLoo. This smoke is going to be for coffins, and it's just a really simple B exec. And the way that Nip are playing this just kind of allow DD to get a pick. I mean, Rez just got mollied out of his position, which is really strong, but... Oh no, actually he didn't. I'm sorry. That was not the case there. That was a different round. But yeah, so actually DD made a play towards CT on that round, and Bntet, I mean, he's just following in. This is all Bntet really does in a lot of rounds. He's just kind of the third guy in. This is kind of the Cold Zera role. If you are more familiar with talking about player names, this is like what he's going to be frequently doing. He's going to be throwing the nades. He's going to throw that smoke, maybe a flash to get his team in. But he's just the guy there to clutch it out when it becomes a late round 3v3 with a post-plant situation. Benta, same thing. So you can see that TyLoo actually managed to get 2 ops from the previous round. This makes things a little awkward for them, given that most teams aren't going to be opting for 2 ops on this side, but Bntet throwing some perfect flashbangs to help his teammate Azio get set up, and he's going to clear the close angles here, which is a little scary given that there's really no trade potential. If Azio needs to try to trade, his best shot is to simply hold and hope that the CT crosses back, which is a little bit awkward, but Bntet at this point making his presence known, making the CTs know that he has this control. And see, this is a more standard setup that you would hope to see from a team like TyLoo. The Opper is posted up on the corner, whereas Bntet is playing anti-flash. So if Azio gets flashed off of his position, Bntet can just simply swing around and find the pushing CT. As it's a very common play for CTs to regress towards Banana, especially in the mid-late round. Usually the timing for it is around 50 seconds that you'd see most teams go for a play like that, or 40 seconds, but Nip don't really go for it. Doesn't seem like they actually want to try to run into that. They're just going to save their flashes for a counter exec. So, as you can see, Bntet, again, second in. Somebody the entry here. He gets 1 kill, and he's not able to find the trade there. One thing that I think Bntet could work on is kind of his trading. What's a little surprising is that Bentet's accuracy isn't that... It's actually surprisingly not that good. Bntet really doesn't have the best aim of a lot of pros that I've watched. He's that second, third guy in, and he plays those late round situations really strongly. But had he found just an instant headshot on that crouch player in the back left by Newbox, he might have been able to find the second entry as well. But because he has to just strafe out, crouch, and hold a spray and shoot 5 bullets into the CT, it didn't allow his teammates to scale as nicely as you would hope on an entry like that. So that just made things a little too claustrophobic as they were trying to get into the bomb site. They weren't even stopped by Molotovs or any kind of counter utility there. It's simply the fact that Bntet crouched right there that kind of made things awkward for his teammates. And the fact that he wasn't able to get the trade on the first Oranges player, Get Right, or maybe it was Rez, was just made things rather awkward for his team. So it's a little strange that a player like Bntet, who I would regard as probably a top 15 player in the world right now, I mean, he has pretty average aim for a professional across all pros, like not just top 10 teams or anything like that. Yeah. So again, just kind of going for some banana default. This is another low utility play from them, but they just kind of hope they can get something. There's some bracket control being attempted here, but somebody's just kind of fighting on his own towards Boiler, and DD's not pushing through the smoke to try to help him. So it's a little scary to just run through a smoke in that situation for DD, so I don't really blame him, but we're going to see how they try to develop this round. So Benta calls for his teammates to go Arch, and he's going to spot the shoulder of Get Right in just a second. Oddly, he doesn't get that kill again. Like, those are kills that a lot of riflers in the professional scene would get, and it's a really tight angle, and Get Right is kind of strafing among it, but it's just strange that he's not able to close that one out. And the fact that he always crouches when he takes duels is also one of the reasons he has just mistakes there. If he doesn't crouch there and he just strafes out and pulls what I like to call just kind of the Tarek shot, like Tarek runs and shoots his gun a lot, he would have just been able to clean that one up. Instead, he just crouches into the spray and doesn't really have, I would say, the best spray control either. But they were still actually able to pick that round up, but just saying, Bentet's sometimes a little awkward in the duels that he takes. I say Benta is like a tier 1 CT player, but sometimes a tier 3 T side player. Like super top tier CT side. But we'll get there when we get there. So his teammates are just going to be going in, clearing it out. This is a pretty brute force approach for an anti-force buy that TyLoo just underwent. And really nothing else is going to be happening here. He's just going to be sitting at this new box position for the rest of the round. Force doesn't even end up dying. So you just kind of see Bntet is like the third guy in pretty much all of these. Second guy or third guy in. And the way he even tries to hold that new box guy, it allows the CTs to get close relatively quickly. If a CT had a lot of information there, that's not really how you'd always want your second man in to be approaching. But, I mean, they just brute forced it, all 5 of them just going towards B. So even if they ran into a stack, they probably still would have cleaned it up simply because they just have the superior firepower. So again, they clear that banana position, they molly the corner, double nade the sandbags, and that's just a really strong approach as well. Knowing that NIP were on a force buy last round, nades, I mean, those probably would have killed anyone that was at sandbags. So again, we're going to see a setup where Bntet is playing anti-flash. At this point, see, I don't think there's like a lot of teamwork going on. It's kind of awkward. The way that Azio decides to throw nades and Bntet still holds anti-flash just seems very baity. From Benta once again. It's when Azio falls off of this position, you think that Benta would pick it up, as pretty much Azio at that point is the one that's going to be playing in a somewhat anti-flash position, but instead Benta just kind of holds his ground. He's probably making a call as the IGL. So Benta there. Again, he doesn't really get kills very quickly, and that makes him take a lot more damage than he should have. So this could be something actually that, and this is just extrapolating, but I think one of the reasons Bntet might have as great positioning and awareness as he does is that he has progressed through so many tiers of play as he's been coming up as a player, and he really hasn't been able to do it with his aim. He's simply just not a strong aimer. I think a lot of pros would have found pretty much the instant headshot on that guy that's just crouched stationary at new box, but Bntet, he took like 3 bullets or so to hit him and doesn't actually even get a bullet off on the guy that's playing the column position with his spray transfer. So he takes a lot of damage there, but luckily his teammates are able to help him out there. And again, he just kind of crouches when he tries to get into a bomb site. It's just it's kind of awkward to watch sometimes, the way he does that. So another really standard default, quick switch before the molly actually came out, which is a little bit unfortunate, but what TyLoo have done here is that since they've been throwing a molly and a nade for car every time, after a while, you usually don't need to really do that. That was really good crosshair placement in pre-fire, knowing that players like to play in front of that smoke there. But what they've done is condition Nip to never peek car. And so it might have been, it's actually almost a little bit of a blessing in disguise for them that they didn't throw that molly. He was able to throw it for sandbag, so Rez had to take that awkward positioning in front of the smoke there. Had he have thrown his molly towards car earlier, like as he wanted to, he clearly wanted to do it. He just quick switched before he got it out. It's I don't know. He kind of got Rez out of position there, and you can see Benta again. He's making a call right here. He's and awkward spacing gets himself killed, and a weird nip stack towards B at that point just alerted them that they could have 3 there. So Benta not really having the utmost care at every moment in a round. You can see players that aren't IGLs are going to always pretty much have good crosshair placement, good positioning, good movement nearly all the time. But Benta, being the IGL, he's clearly calling something. He was calling for his troops to all get back to Banana, and once they did so, he kind of still had to get out of this IGL mode and then peek it. But you'll see that as a CT side player, Benta is extraordinary. Like, sincerely. He plays nearly every situation correctly, and because he doesn't have to probably call as much on the CT side, I mean, hopefully not, as these players can be a little bit more independent, he has a lot more to show for it. It's not like he had a bad first half, in fact. He had 13 kills there, so he was top fragging, but he's just playing the corner position now at Banana and doesn't want to give up too much information. So he knows that the T's could have control of this area, and the thing is that his teammates were getting wrapped on the A site, so wasn't able to really accomplish all too much there. So we're just going to see him buy a CZ, a smoke, and some body armor into this round. Really nothing crazy. A lot of teams have started opting to do this. It's generally more affordable, especially if you don't buy body armor to do this, so that you can have a better utility buy in your first gun round. Bntet, DD, and somebody, they all choose to buy body armor, but you can see Exerted, their Opper, and Azio decide not to. So what's really nice about this kind of setup of just having all these smoke grenades and CZs is that you can consistently recycle smokes or cycle through them and just smoke off choke points again and again. And if the opposing Ts don't take map control as early enough, sometimes these smokes can come in at just the totally opportune time and can block their approach up. And the reason you want a CZ in this situation as opposed to a Deagle is just because it's easier to play around a smoke with a CZ. It's easier to hold that angle, as people are just going to be jumping through it a lot of the time. You're not going to find headshots as easily, but a triple body shot from a CZ is a lot more feasible. So good timing again on his smoke grenade. That's going to allow him and somebody to play rather close here. And because of this timing, his team's able to actually make a gamble stack. You can see that at Exerted and DD, they're playing so close up, and they're getting no information at all at A that this is already very likely to be a B hit. So regardless of that, they had a stack going towards the B bomb site. They had 3 players there, but they just weren't able to really find the shots. And Nip, they had some really just quick entries there, and that's the power of headshots, really. As you can see, the player that was entering towards B got 2 pretty much instantaneous headshots, so he didn't have to take too much damage, and it just makes things a lot cleaner and easier. Allows you to keep your economy a lot higher as you progress forward into a match. Like, I think everyone realizes, obviously, that headshots are very important in Counter-Strike, but the difference between a headshot and keeping a player alive, or body shots and not, is sometimes the difference between winning a game and losing it, economically speaking. So, an aggressive play coming out towards Banana here. Benta switches to that CZ and is able to get this kill onto Rez. So this is already a really great round from them, given that they didn't really have to buy too heavily into it. And Dennis was actually able to sneak behind them, but it seems like Bntet had some idea that that was possible. So he does pull his gun out in time, but just loses the duel. He lost so much HP from earlier that it didn't really matter. And so you can see here, Benta, again, he's opting for full utility as opposed to an M4, perhaps. So, which kind of bodes well as being an IGL, that he trusts his utility usage more than he trusts just his straight up aim and firepower. And that's not something you really see from a star player of a team all too frequently. So it's really it's just interesting that Bntet is a slightly more cerebral player than I don't know, I think the general public might give credit for. I think this guy has been kind of eluding the public eye for a while in terms of just understanding his playstyle. So it's another reason I wanted to just go over this. So Benta, this is just pretty much the best off angle you can play. If players do go through arch side, which was a possibility given that his other two teammates are playing towards porch there, this is just, I mean, a T clearing this angle is very awkward for them. I mean, usually you're going to check left, check right, and then you're just going to start moving forward. You might strafe like this, and then you're going to get caught by him. It's very rare that a person hard clears this angle. But he's not actually going to encounter anything here, so this is, or actually spoke a little too soon. He actually does get right, but this is a pretty simple kill. So, just showing the late round rotational positioning from Bntet there. And he uses that angle more than once. Pretty sure he uses it this round as well. So again, TyLoo really prioritizes banana control. They do it on T side and CT side. Somebody takes a lot of damage from grenades there. It's a miracle that he actually gets out of that alive. But Benta hitting the rare headshot through the smoke is going to get res. So that's just so much control for them. And just good awareness there. There's no real reason not to spam that. You sometimes see players just not shoot through that smoke, but I think it really is always in your benefit to do so. You don't really want to commit to a spray through the smoke, especially against AKs, as a single headshot can take you out. But yeah, you're going to see Bntet here. They're just going to post up Exerted. And this is very common, of course, for teams too. You get banana control, and then once you do, you just set up your opper so that he can hold this by himself, hopefully get a single kill, and your players can stack towards the A site. So we can see here that Azio and DD, they're going to be playing a pretty nice crossfire towards the porch side. This does leave Arch exposed, so Bntet not really worrying too much about them getting wrapped onto the bomb site. He's more concerned of them potentially going through CT here, and this is actually very wise of him. Actually gets timing there a little bit by Lecro, but this angle is just very hard for players to clear. Get right can't find the trade there. Now Benta, he knows where the last player is. Exerted somehow lost the duel to Dennis there, and find some good spam on him, but really this is all but over. Just making an individual play at this point, smoking, flashing through it, and that's really just like a calculated risk for him at that point. It does give a free 1v1 to Dennis had he have decided to fake plant it, but it also is very likely to just secure the round for you. I mean, he's probably going to commit to the plant. He wants to get money for his team. So Bntet, even if he dies, he still has two teammates there that can clutch that round out, so he's not all too worried about it. So pause comes out, and really Benta, pretty sure he doesn't see anyone on this round. Yeah, his entire team just cleans it up, so nothing really too interesting in that round. But again, things are going to start off with him and somebody attempting to get some banana control. Somebody's a lot more aggressive, you can see, in just spamming everything, and he knows that Bentet's right next to him, so if a T tries to read that and push through the smoke at that point, I mean, Bentet's right there to get the trade at the very least, if not just take the guy out. So somebody and him playing off of each other pretty well there, even though it made somebody look a little crazy, to be honest, but you can see that it's not really the case. So Benta just jiggling this angle out, and notice how tight it is some of the times. It's kind of inconsistent with his jiggles just a little bit, but it's not easy to be perfect with this. You see, though, he's just holding a smoke out. If the T's are to start approaching, he's just going to be throwing this down. And he actually uses it as a response to his arch side player dying. And this is, of course, so that somebody can now just kind of play off of that smoke grenade there, use it to his advantage. But mostly it's he has time now to try to look for any players moving through CT, and notice the angle that he plays here. This doesn't expose him. Given that the arch side position is completely open, he's playing this angle that it's not really the most standard of angles you'll see a CT player play. However, if a player does come from CT, somebody is going to be in a crossfire with him, so that if Bntet or either of them really lose their duel, it's very possible for them to just play off of each other. But kind of a weird round from Nip there. That was like a really strange call. But they don't even smoke CT. They just kind of run into the bomb site, and they just get mowed down by that crossfire. So again, some two-man banana control being exerted by this team. He mollies down, nades down, and at this point, it's because his teammate died towards A already, they're going to play this a little differently, and somebody just gets boosted up looking for that control. I don't think they would have always done that had the player at A not died, but they really need a little bit more map control than they've been given thus far. So somebody's going to be playing this angle, and this allows TyLoo to now stack 3 of the remaining 4 players towards the A bomb site. So he throws a flash towards apartments. That doesn't really accomplish a lot, but this is a pretty interesting round. Honestly, I'm just going to go to Exerted because he kills all of them. So Benta was just playing that second box right there. He missed basically every shot that he took, which was really weird. And then Exerted just got everything. I don't really know what to say about that. Honestly, when I watched that before, it was just like Benta was just whiffing. And it just kind of keeps up with my theory that Bentet's actually not the best aimer. And he mostly makes plays off of positioning. But what's more important in that round than Exerted getting the ace and Bntet missing every shot is the fact that they were able to even put Bntet there. If Bntet weren't there, Exerted would not have gotten those 5 kills, because those T's are firing at both Bntet and Exerted, and because they're able to just play off of each other in that position, they it just makes the crosshair disruption so much greater for the approaching terrorists. And Bntet just staying alive there was also very important. It's not like he really was purposely trying to stay alive as opposed to getting kills, but just the way that it all happened worked out for them. So you can see TyLoo trying a new setup now. This is a pretty standard one. Somebody playing on top of new box there, good boost, and Bntet would be getting first contact right here. What Bentet's going to be able to do is that he should be able to get the first shot onto whoever is approaching, and then he can fall back behind the fountain so that somebody would get next contact. He throws a smoke there, and at this point he knows though that CT is available, so he has to kind of change his positioning a little bit. He can't just play the way that he was before, and he gets tagged and has to change things up a little bit. Thankfully for him, somebody just gets all those kills, and now Bentet's able to play off of him, and they're able to just fight together. So a great round from somebody, and Bntet was kind of having to... He plays the B rotator position, so he does have to take care of that CT area if anything goes awry for the arch side players. So some more banana control is going to be exerted here. Exerted is setting up for some scaling flashes towards banana at this point. What he's able to do with that flash is that it allows somebody in Bntet to just have an easy peek. The flash is going to land right over the wall right there, and in doing so it just allows them to have a very confident peek. Really, there's no way for a terrorist to be in banana almost at all at that point. And we just see what I was talking about earlier. They get banana control early, despite the counter utility from Nip. They just boost over the half wall, and now Exerted's able to just play this angle very confidently. And Bntet, he's going to be holding archside once again from his favorite angle, this library cubby. But as you can see, he's just kind of quick switching, knows that it's very unlikely for T's to be there at the time. So probably just calling a setup for his teammates to get into the bomb site with. Azio, somebody, and Beatty, they're all just kind of playing this... nice crossfire here. Azio is going to be responsible for apartments. Somebody is going to watch for the Moto wrap, and Didi is just going to be playing the pit position. He's kind of playing the first, potentially first contact there. So we're just going to watch this setup unfold, as Bentet's not really going to be doing anything here. So somebody's going to be playing right behind default. This is a really good multi-frag position, as usually T's are going to be running in at this point, and they usually aren't going to be looking here, but a great flash is actually going to catch him. So he is able to get the multi-frag, but Bntet, he was a little worried about Arch that whole time, and the fact that no one else really chimed in with any kills of their own was pretty unfortunate for the TyLoo defense there. I think the setup was actually pretty strong, but Nip had some great flashes there that were allowing them to get up to the bomb site. So Benta, he's tasked with a 2v3 retake, and he knows at this point it's very unlikely for them to win this, especially with Accurate on his op. Probably looked at the money as well. Somebody, I mean, he can buy into the upcoming round, but it's nice if he gets a drop. So Bentet's looking for exit at this point. He knows that any damage is really good damage. Nip haven't been having the most success in the previous round, so he's just going to look for that kill. Again, Benta just kind of catching a player off guard there. Forrest is trying to escape towards Pit. He knows that he can get a... I mean, he can just survive the bomb plant or bomb explosion from there. But Benta, he knows that that's a very likely possibility. So he's just going to play that angle. So Benta just kind of showing how cerebral he is right there. That's not the craziest thing, but some players would just run away and save their gun in B or something like that. But Benta knows that there is likely a player on site and that he can catch him running away. Also, you can see, again, his aim was very awkward there. Like, it took him, I'd say, 7 bullets or so to get that kill. Not to just keep railing Bentet's aim, but it's just surprising to me sometimes how long it takes for him to kill people. But he still is so good. Like, imagine how good he would be if he was a little better at aiming. It'd be scary, honestly. He would get so many more multi-frags. So this, again, is one of those really kind of interesting TyLoo setups. He's going to be playing the half wall here while somebody plays close at his cubby. This isn't something they've done thus far with their banana control, but it's kind of hard to play off of each other. If a guy close peeks somebody here, then Benta doesn't really have instant trade potential. If he's off of the half wall in front of it, perhaps, he could have accomplished something, but if a player close swings him, that's not going to be able to be traded. So it's kind of weird Benta decides to play like that sometimes. So Rez is kind of faking this banana control right now, and Bntet knows that. He's just going to be holding his ground. And as soon as the calls are coming out from his teammates towards A, he does realize that he can find a fast flank here. So he's just going to be going for that pretty quickly. And this is just speedy recovery from, or speedy rotation allows him to just get so close so quickly. But looks like Get Right kind of realized this. And Bentet's not able to recover with his shots there. I think he might have heard Get Right move back into apartments earlier, so that's why he was pre-aimed like that. But yeah, just kind of a... Actually, it was a really strong peek from Get Right, so gotta give credit where credit's due. So despite the fast flank, they weren't able to accomplish anything. Flub Molly from somebody kind of throws their plans for a loop, but they still kind of go for it. Banana control is so essential for both sides of this map that you really do want to fight for it, even if things do not go your way immediately. So we're going to see Benta do the same kind of play he did before. He's just going to be jiggling this angle at CT and has a smoke ready for any kind of counter utility. What Bentet's going to be setting up for here, though, is kind of a halfway smoke for somebody to work around. But this took a little too long, and he's going to get flashed in, so he's able to get control now of Banana, but they already are down at a 5v3 disadvantage, so that play just kind of took a little too long. But you can see another procedure that TyLoo like to run through if they lose a player towards A. They smoke off the half wall there and have a flash for the player, somebody, to go for a peek. That's just really strong, given that, one, you're getting a lot of information, and two, if a team is playing anti-flash with a guy staring into the half wall here and another guy holding this angle, this guy's going to get blind, and because this guy's smoked off, he's not really able to easily trade off of it. So it should be able to give you top banana control once again. But this round, just going to end with Bntet saving his gun, and now Nip are at a 14-13 advantage. So TyLoo, I mean, they realize that things aren't really going their way, so they want to change things up just a little bit. So they're going to be going for an aggressive play here. This is just going to involve a nade down mid, and Benta is going to be fighting with his teammates towards Altmed, and able to get the trade there onto Lekro. very important. Now they have a 3v3 that they can work with. And we'll see Bntet playing a pretty much completely new situation here, as he never really started at A in any of these previous rounds. So he is still going to cheat back towards B, though. This is a pretty good read, given that the terrorists didn't have any kind of map control towards Altmed. He saw the single-player Lecro in that position, and Bntet knew that they didn't have apartments control, of course, because he was in apartments. So making this gamble is not a bad one at that. Nip kind of making a predictable call to go back towards B. But very interestingly, Bntet doesn't decide to peek with somebody, but what it results in is kind of that one and done where he swings out. I mean, as a terrorist, you're just not going to expect that player to be so close CT when his teammate's fighting like that. And Bntet, I mean, some of the plays he makes look very baity. Like that's a very baiter play that he makes, but it closes the round out for them, so he knows how successful it can be when it does work out the way it does. And fighting with an ump, which I think somebody had there, isn't always the best decision. Sometimes you're going to be taking that 2-on-2 duel towards Banana, and when your teammate has an ump, you don't really expect him to get anything done regardless of the situation. And fighting with him, I mean, you might be just throwing away your great positioning in life for a potential, like, one refrag off of off an ump. So Bntet weighs the option there and doesn't peek. And that's just one of those things where Bntet, I mean, he thinks a little differently than a lot of players. A lot of players would swing out there. I think, I'd say probably 70+% of all professionals would swing out there, try to help their teammate with that peek. But he would have just walked right into the crosshair of an NIP player. So just really kind of next level stuff. So Bntet fast rotates over. Exerted got a lot done towards this bomb site, so good timing on the pinch. And Exerted, I mean, that was just really a round from him. But Bntet, you can see how he kind of pushed through the smoke there, how he wanted to help him out. He knew that site was clear at that point, and knowing that Graveyard was smoked off at that point, he knew what he had to look at. He had pretty good crosshair placement as he was walking into that bomb site. And although that wasn't really Bntet doing a lot there, it's not like he played it incorrectly. So that's going to be the scaling flash for Banana. It allows Exerted to get out rather quickly, and you can see that he's just going to be taking the fights here. And that's just something you like to see from your opper. Just confidence in those fights. And Bntet, knowing that this cubby potentially could have a player in it, tosses that perfect nade. That would have nailed anyone in that cubby. So good utility usage from him. Has seen the situation before, realizes that a lot of players do like to go into that cubby. And now Bentet's just going to be holding a counter smoke. Because Exerted doesn't have his great position towards Banana, it's a little riskier to leave him alone. So Bentet's a little hesitant despite all the contact that's being made towards A. So really, though, his teammates are just going to be able to clean this one up all by themselves. But you can see how Bntet was able to play with his teammate there. And has a great game overall. But, I don't know, really, you could see a lot of Bentet's play there. CT side, he's just a lot more cerebral, it seems like. On T side, he kind of has these little lapses at times. And the way his mechanics work out don't actually lend themselves to being the most impactful and strong T-side player. A lot of great entry fraggers can just run out headshot, headshot, headshot. But Bntet, he's definitely more comfortable as being the second, third man in. And he's very good at getting the trade, but he's not really great at getting multi-frag kind of trade entries. And that's something that great second ins can do as well. But as you can see, though, Bntet, he's a really great CT side player. And utility usage really top notch. Didn't have too many on the fly pop flashes for teammates. And you can see the way that TyLoo played with this as well. They had a lot of procedures for different parts of the map. They had their way to get banana control. They had their way to retake banana control on CT side and T side. And you just see the way they played. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys learned something about how Bntet likes to play. And hope you guys enjoyed enough to subscribe and follow my Twitter or anything like that. So hope you guys keep supporting. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.